Hello everyone and welcome to Antiques Made Easy. My name's Adrian and I've been a dealer for 25 years and I'd like to show you how to research online. Today's mystery item, a cherubim goat. We want to know who made it, when and how much it's worth. So we start as usual by taking a look. I have to say first of all I've measured the piece and it's 2 3/4 inches high, so it's a tiny little miniature and it depicts a cherub, or another word would be putto, putty being the plural, with a goat with grapes. So possibly you could describe the cherub or putto as a bacchant, a follower of Bacchus, because of the grapes. That may be what the piece is hinting at, but it's a confection really. It's just something pretty to put onto a mantelpiece. I've done a light test and I've looked at the base. So if we go to the base, you can see it's white where there is no glaze. There's glaze in the centre, but towards the edges it's a white colour, just slightly off-white. I've done a scratch test on it. It's scratching a piece of metal to see whether it digs in, and it doesn't, which means that it's hard paste porcelain, a particular type, and that is a useful thing to know. The glaze, if we take a look at, say, the back of it here, is white and shiny. It's a nice quality, and the colours, well, there's the black, purple, red, green, brown, there's a yellow there, and we have gilding that's actually not a brassy kind of gilding. It's quite a nice soft yellow gilding. So these are hints as well as to quality and origin. The base is solid, it doesn't raise up underneath, and has an impressed lozenge pattern running around. And if we look there, we can see there's a gold anchor. Now this gold anchor mark was used by Chelsea, but our piece is not Chelsea. But that will help in searching, because other people will describe something as having a Chelsea gold anchor mark but being by a different factory. So we'll have to go with this information now and the gold anchor mark over to the internet. So we go over to the internet, and I'm using DuckDuckGo for reasons that I've stated before. It seems to have a lot of images online, and I'll give you a quick rundown of Chelsea porcelain. On Wikipedia, just to illuminate the figure, and why I know that it isn't Chelsea. You can see here it says it's established around 1743, operating independently until 1770, when it merged with Derby Porcelain. It made soft paste porcelain throughout its history, so it's soft paste, and ours is a hard paste piece, just by testing it with a knife. And when we look at periods, you can see there's the raised anchor, the red anchor, and the gold anchor. and the gold anchor is 1756 to 69. So it's quite a short length of time. Everything about the piece that I'm looking at is screaming 19th century to me. The colours, the feel of the porcelain. It's something that you've got to handle things to know. But I can show some images. If we put figurines, let's put putto, the word that we've realised early on, and now here is the market is deciding to describe something as Chelsea. Let's have a look at this on eBay. Antique Chelsea porcelain cherub putty goat figurine. So the words are in there. Accept all. Just a gorgeous Chelsea porcelain figurine of a putty and a goat on an oval gilt-edge base. Excellent condition. Well, it isn't. It's probably the same factory, looking at the base there, the same lozenge mark running around, probably the same factory as ours. But who is that? That's the question. And here's another one, described as Antique Chelsea Derby. Well, I'm not sure. This one could be. It's just in very bad condition. What a shame. Right. So anyway, we've had a look at, that they are real, and I think that actual fact that one is real. It would need looking at. So there you go. It's not Chelsea, but already we've found something that matches ours. These are all. Oh no, that's Chelsea Samson. I'm not sure. Anyway, if we carry on looking, you can see there. 19th century. Just open it up. Samson porcelain cherub putty figurine, no wings, gold anchor mark. Now, this name Samson, and it crops up again here. If we have a look at this one, first dibs. There. The name Samson is synonymous with copies. Now, there were I can give a little bit of a background again. Esme Samson. Oops. And if we look at all, right. Wikipedia. Born 1810, died 1891. Was a famous copyist and perhaps forger of porcelain and pottery. And his career began in the 1830s. The factory was moved by his son, so it carried on for quite a while, and he basically reproduced everything, which might be a direction for looking for our figure, whether he made that or not. But Also, it's become convenient to say Samson. If you know that a piece wasn't made by a particular maker, and it's a copy from the 19th century, it's easy to say it's Samson. Well, let's put Esme Samson putto. Now, most people probably write putty instead of putto. But if we look at images, I might change the search to putty, actually. No results, yes, because I put putto, which is correct. Oh, none there either. So it's the Esme bit. Here we go. Samson putty. And if we look down, to me there's something just a little bit different about Samson's pieces. It's possible that ours is by Samson, but it's also possible it's by another factory. We'll put goat to see if it'll narrow it down. And we're getting goats, but we're getting a certain kind of look. Aha! Now this one, this has got the kind of fine grey painting for the coat of the goat. And it's MB, Antique Porcelain and Fine Arts. It sounds like somebody who has a good idea. This is a figurine made by Samson in the 19th century. It is a good example of his skills and was even used as a comparison in a Herxt book. It is a putty getting on a goat. So the figurine is marked underneath with the underglazed blue wheel mark of the crown on top. So of a completely different maker to Chelsea. But Samson was known for doing Chelsea copies. And we know that this one is Samson. Oh, we've got a pretty good authority there. So if we carry on looking, we might be lucky. We might fall on a piece that it doesn't look like it. Here's another one. There's a certain character to the face. So let's take another look at ours. No. We're getting a video coming up here. I don't want that. Right. No, not quite. There's some character to his face. I'm not quite sure that it's the same. So the jury is actually out. So if we remove Samson and look at the Chelsea search again, that's the one we looked at before, I think. But that is very similar. This one's very similar. No, I think that was the one. Right, let's have a look at this one. 18th, 19th century. Gold anchor. Antique Chelsea porcelain, figure of a cherub, 18th, 19th century gold anchor. There's a lot of lazy research out there. I don't mean to criticise, but people who know that that is not Chelsea. And I'm suspecting that the person selling knows that it isn't Chelsea. And that's why they've got a middling kind of price on it. Because if that was Chelsea, you could probably add a zero to the end of it. So, and more. They know. I just noticed Dresden. So let's put Dresden as a search. I think that's the same one again, yeah. And that's the same one again. See, the thing about what I'm researching and showing you how to research, these items are tricky. They're quite difficult to pin down. It's not like there's a simple mark on the base and that's, it's as easy as that. The world of antiques was fraught with copies, forgeries, in more or less all areas, and porcelain is no exception. The Chelsea gold anchor helped to sell things. So if we look at all, we might get something here. But Bonham's, a Dresden group of two putty with a goat. We're not getting an image. No, they've removed the image. Samson Chelsea style pair of figure groups. Once again, there is a sort of look to Samson. So I've reached the point where if I was very lazy, I would describe the figurine as, let's go back and look at it again, as Chelsea, like everyone else, but it isn't. You could put Chelsea in inverted commas, and the pricing alone, the value of something, it does let the market know. And sometimes the market's convincing themselves that they're buying something as Chelsea. And the seller knows full well that it isn't. You could also apply the same thing to Samson. Because Samson's a renowned copyist, a renowned faker, you could say, oh, this is probably a Samson copy bearing the gold anchor mark of Chelsea, and say, oh, it's 19th century, and leave it as wide open as possible. I suspect that this is a German factory, that it's probably Dresden, and sometimes these things you'll never actually find out because there is no mark on them. You'd have to have access to trade catalogues that pin an individual piece down. So once again, it's not satisfying. It's not a satisfying conclusion to the identification, but it's the way it is. It's a continental piece, a continental porcelain figure group depicting a putto and goat. That's a 19th century, but of an indeterminate age in the 19th century. I mean, my guessing would be from 1850 to 1890, but it could be later than that. It could even have crept into the 20th century. But what we can see is that there's a good quality glaze and workmanship. So Now we've got to move on to the valuation with this kind of dissatisfying conclusion to the research, but that's just the way it is. Right, so we move on to the valuation, and basically we can look at the prices that people ask regardless of what tag they put onto something, whether they say, here's another one that's Chelsea porcelain. Some of them even put 1900. Well, Chelsea wasn't around in 1900, it's 18th century. This has got the same sort of lozenge marks on the base. I think the dating's probably not far wrong, but obviously the attribution to Chelsea is. So I think it's a sort of a known unknown that people in the market know that it isn't. The ones selling and the ones buying. It's just the convention to say Chelsea because of the mark. And that has $95 on it. Well, you can see that some of the paint is peeling away. It's all right, but it isn't actually as fine as the one that we've got. But the hair looks very similar. So that's one price, $95. If we look, we might find, let's look at this one again. That isn't 18th, 19th century. That's implied, but $79.99. Basically, what you've got is a situation where it's known that it is not authentic, and there's a convention around it, but it has a value in pure decorative terms on its own terms, and the retail value seems to be around $75. Now that might imply that someone would take $50 for it, and pounds, it doesn't make a great deal of difference anymore between them. If we look at ours, we can see that it has got minor damages. Well, this is similar to the last items that I've valued. When they're of a certain type, people are more forgiving. The less forgiving of a modern collectible, the more forgiving of the wear and tear. And I don't think there'd be massively difficult things to restore if somebody chose to. You can see there's a minor chip down there. You know, this is just part of the life of the piece. So what is it worth in auction? Well, that's a bit tricky. I don't think it would get into a sale on its own. I think if with pieces like this, mostly in sale rooms, you might see 4 or 5 grouped together. The value in an auction might be around £20, you know, as part of a group of 4 or 5 that sell for 100. But to a collector's market, to somebody who likes it for what it is, and will overlook minor faults, the valuation stands at 75, possibly to take 50, 55, 60. It's in that ballpark. So we've managed to not narrow down exactly who made it, but we can say it's probably 19th century, possibly Samson, or possibly Dresden. We can define it by what it isn't, and it isn't Chelsea. But that strangely helps to find it a market at the same time. The fake mark will make people see it as bearing the marks of Chelsea. It's all a bit bizarre, but it should be worth around £50. That's the best that I can say. And my guess is that it's from around 1860, 1880. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I've got a presence on Patreon as Adrian Parker. You can support me on there for more videos. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I produce 2 or 3 of these videos a week on how to identify antiques. And I've also got a group on Facebook called Antiques and Collectibles Wanted UK. I hope you enjoyed yourself watching this video. I didn't really enjoy it as much as I wanted to, but there you go. Thank you and bye bye.